It's an absolute pleasure to welcome the Eastbourne Borough CEO to the From the Club podcast for the second time. Alan, the first one was so good, by popular demand, we needed to get you back. How are you doing?
Am I the first returner?
You are, mate, you are.
I'd rather watch Shaka Hislop than me, but there you go.
Because we covered so much of your backstory in our first interview, we won't cover that again. But I will say, if you haven't heard that, then make sure that you go and check it out. The link will be in the notes below. So, Alan, last time we spoke, it's fair to say that the majority of people at the club at that point had written Eastbourne Borough off as relegated, and yet you came on adamant that we were going to be okay. So just take us back to that moment and just remind us why you were so confident, and then ultimately proved right.
I think that when you're around it all the time, and bear in mind our players train at the club, they eat at the club, they play at the club. Most of them are local to the club. You're seeing every training session. You're seeing what Adam was doing and his philosophy and what he was trying to drum into the players. And I think at the time we spoke last time, it hadn't quite clicked, but it was really close. And I could see what Adam was putting together. I could see how he was coaching. I could see what his philosophy was. I could see how he wanted it to work, and it was really close to. And we just knew that when it clicked, we would be fine. You know, I had complete faith in our manager. I had complete faith in the squad of players that we had, because they'd been added to in a really clever way, to complement what they were doing, and we'd signed the players that would fit within the system and philosophy that Adam had. And so, you know, I'm not the oracle on football. I don't know everything about football, but I've been in it long enough to see and understand what's in front of me, and I could see that what he was doing was gonna be good enough for us.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I didn't know relegation battles could be so much fun. It was certainly an entertaining end of the season, wasn't it?
It might have been for you. Um, I mean, it was nice at the very end, but there were times when, you know, it was close, you know, and, you know, we got there. So, you know, at least you're not coming on here and saying, well, you said we were going to be safe, and now we're sitting in the Isthmian, whatever, Parks Football League, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I know that you're flat out and you always work, really hard. So you might not have had too much time to reflect on last season. But when you do, what stand out as the highlights for you?
I think there was many highlights, many lowlights, if there is such a word. But I think there's, I think there was a highlight had to be a day where we weren't even playing, when we secured safety because another team didn't manage to get a game across the line, and the fact that, you know, sitting at home, and watching on the phone what was going on, and when that final whistle went and we knew we were safe, that was probably the highlight of the season. But then, sort of defining moments of the season, I think Maidstone did us a massive favour, giving us a good hiding. And it's strange that one game could do so much for our football club. You get beaten, we score a goal that turns out to get 29 million views on social media, which increased our following and our sort of our fan base. The amount of people that were commenting and linking and buying merchandise and, you know, connecting with the club. We picked up a main sponsor off the back of that, where a young lad went to his dad and said, "Dad, look at this, you've got to see this goal." And, you know, that was Joel's son, the managing director of Stagecoach, who then contacted us and said, "Can I come and have a chat?" So, you know, we picked up a massive sponsor off the back of that game. But more importantly, we got a good hiding from Maidstone that day. And it was one of them that, you know, I sat looking at Simon. It was like, oh, no, this is not great. But I then went, and for the first time all season, I went into the changing room after a game, because I don't do that. It's not my place to do that. But I went in. Adam has his way of doing things after a game, and it tends to be letting the lads settle. He'll go into his office with his team. They'll have a conversation. They'll talk about what they want to talk about, or they might do that outside, and then they'll go in and then he'll say his piece. And I went down the tunnel, saw Adam. Adam was in his office, and he just looked at me and he was like, yeah, it was one of them. And I said, "Oh, can I come in?" Because there was a lot of injustices in that game. We didn't deserve the hiding that we had. There was two stupid sending offs. We ended up with 9 players. They came on really strong at the end, so the score doesn't really reflect the game. It could have gone another way. And my thought was to just, keep your heads up, lads. It's not as bad as that. So I said, "Can I come in and say a few words?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course you can." So I went in with him. He got all the lads. Our changing room's it's like a horseshoe. It's there's 2 sections of it. And he got all the lads round into one side and he sat them all down. And they all sitting on the floor. Not on the seats. They all sat on the floor. A couple of them were on the seats, but most of them all sat on the floor, and they were tight. They were sort of really jammed in on the floor. And they just sat there looking at him like a preschool class looking at their teacher. It was a group of men sitting on the floor, completely focused, completely silent, completely in tune with what Adam was about to say to them. And Adam gave a speech that you hear speeches being referred to as the Winston Churchill speech, right? It was, he stood up and he did his bit and he said his bit about, that result won't define us. This is the day that we come together. This is the day we react to a complete injustice. You did not deserve to lose that game. And he would tell them if they did. He was an honest manager that puts his point across. And he basically said, "Today's the day, guys. We come together. Today's the day. It doesn't happen. We don't lose again. We take this to the end of the season and we secure safety. And we're going to do that as a team. We're going to do that as one." They all sat there just transfixed on the guy. And he gave this speech that brought a lump to my throat and the hairs were standing up in my arms. We've all had moments that things like that happen. And he said, "Okay, right." And he turned to me and said, "Did you want to say something?" And I just said, "No, I don't need to say anything." And I went out and Simon was outside and he went, "Oh, is everything all right?" And I just said to Simon, "We'll be fine. Yeah. We know, but we'll be fine." And that's a leader of men, Adam. Yeah. Different class that night, that evening, after that game. And what he did there, the way in which he got that team to focus on what was important, not what wasn't important, to understand what they needed to do. And every single one of them completely bought into everything that he was saying. And you could have heard a pin drop and they just sat there and he said his piece. And then they were off the next day. I think the following training session, I come in and it was like I don't know what happened. Cattle prod up everyone. They were just different. And then they flew through to the end of the season. And as you said, a lot of people wrote us off. And they were probably right to, because if you're looking at the numbers and you're looking at the games to play and you're looking at all of that stuff, it didn't look great to the outside world. But I absolutely knew from, sometimes a defeat can be bigger than a victory. Maidstone helped us secure survival that day by that result happening, and everyone else got the rough end of that afterwards. And then we go final game of the season. We play Braintree and we absolutely handed it to them there. And that's a team that got promoted, and they weren't anything. And we signed Jaden, who was on loan there from Crawley. And Jaden come in and he said, "We just all sat in that change room shaking our heads. We couldn't believe what we were playing against, and how you were just surviving. That team completely played them off the park. And then this summer we've had 4 or 5 of their key players who have been offered deals to go up with them, have contacted and they've asked if they can come and play for us. Wow. We didn't want any of them because we didn't consider they were good enough for what we wanted to do or the way in which Adam wanted to play. So, it was highlight, safety, second highlight, being beaten by Maidstone for me.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I wasn't expecting that as an answer, but yeah, great insight, Alan. I mean, I don't know if you've had a chance to speak to Jaden about this, but I always like sort of finding out these things. Obviously, he's just come from a club, like you say, that's obviously done what we're wanting to do this coming season. Has he said much about how he feels our squad, what sort of shape we're in, as compared to the squad that he went up with? Is there much of a comparison there? Have you heard about that?
I think there is. You talk to a lot of the lads. A lot of the lads have been elsewhere. A lot of the lads have tasted success and had promotions. And um, our squad, we're 2 days. We're recording this on the Thursday night before the Saturday season opener, and I would say that if you ask most of our lads, they'd say we're in a good place.
Yeah,
And there's a there's a couple of things I can't share that will come out probably before this air, but we're in a good place. The lads are happy, they're confident, they feel they're ready. They all say they've had the hardest yet the best pre-season that they've ever had. And you've got some experienced pros in there. Adam's got them to a level of fitness that we certainly didn't have last year. Um,
yeah,
Certainly we weren't prepared like we've prepared this year. And I think that all of the lads are in a situation now where they believe that we're going to be there or thereabouts, or they're going to give it a damn good go. And anyone that gives us a game this year are going to have to play really, really well.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's our lads' opinion. That's what the boys are saying. So,
yeah,
when you have that kind of confidence and that kind of chat going round, then that's really great. They know they've got a lot of work to do. They know it's going to be really hard. They're not complacent. They're not bolshy or arrogant in any way. They just feel that they're well prepped. They're well ready. They understand what their jobs are. Um,
yeah.
they're fit, and you know they're looking forward to Chesham on the opening day.
Yeah, and Alan, you've been in football for a while now, obviously at some other clubs as well, and it's not like the old days, is it? Players used to leave and then they used to let their hair down over the summer, and they used to have to come back and then really pull it in to regain that fitness. But these players are athletes for 12 months of the year now, aren't they? They go away, they have a bit of a plan, even when they're not training with the club, and they even come back with a level of fitness that they probably didn't have a few years ago.
Yeah, it isn't like it used to be. I mean, first day of pre-season, there wasn't people throwing up everywhere and laying on the floor screaming and crying and people hitting people with sticks. And um, I remember a pre-season at East Grinstead that I had, which was nowhere near. I was 2 steps below where we are. Um, and it was, their ground was on East Court in East Grinstead. There was a massive hill in East Court. They just made us run up and down it till no one else could run up and down it. And everyone
Yeah,
would be lying on the floor, people would be throwing up, and there's much more science to it now. Our lads come back fit. I mean, we did tests on day one. Adam couldn't believe the levels of fitness they come back with. It was one of them that this first day was going to define what the next week was like, and it was either going to be like that or it was going to be
yeah,
like that. And Adam was like, "Look, I'm stunned with how well they've come back." We
yeah,
had players. Um, I mean, I'll name drop him. Back end of last season, Sia had probably put on a little bit of weight, which slowed him down a quarter of a yard. But that is massive in at this level. Um, and without being, I mean, he worked all summer. He worked
yeah,
all summer, no holiday. He worked hard all summer, and we know because he was coming into the ground. Can I have the keys? Can I go on the pitch? Can I have the kit room? Can I have some balls out? Um, and he really grafted. That is someone that was so driven to come back ready, so driven
yeah,
to lose a few pounds. And it wasn't. I'm not saying he was fat. He wasn't fat. He just at this level, a little bit makes a massive difference. And
yeah.
he's come back. And if you've seen him in
Sharp,
pre-season,
yeah, sharp,
different player, but
yeah,
that's a credit to him. He's worked hard all summer and he's really grafted and got stuck in and come back ready. But then again, they all did. No one come back out of shape. No one got the rough end of anyone's tongue about the condition in which they came back. Whether it was a returning player or a new signing, they all come back sharp. They all come back knowing they had a job to do. And a lot of them understood the momentum that we were hopefully going to carry into next season. Most teams start the way they finish. We finish well. We want to start really well, and I think a lot of the lads didn't want to let the gaffer down or themselves. So they come back really well, really, really good shape. We are really proud of them for that, all of them.
But I'm not sure the same can be said for the fans, myself included. I've seen a few other boys over the summer, and it seems like we've all put a bit of weight on, so we'll have to work that out as the season starts, Adam.
Hey, look, life's for living, right? You either eat, you drink, or you buy shirts like Paul Fear. Um, they're all bad habits, aren't they? But so's following a football club, and a very expensive one. And we understand that, and we're appreciative of the money that people are putting in to follow their club.
Yeah. And we ended the season with what felt like a really tight connection between the fans and the directors, the manager, and of course the players. Obviously, we've had a couple of months break now. How important is it that we get that back as soon as possible?
I don't think it ever went, did it? Um, I think that we appreciate that. The lads do understand and accept that. They value it. They hear it. It does make a difference, And there's the Berry man, the merry band of 12th Man has carried on through the summer. Really, it's actually been christened, I think, and it's got its official name and um, the like. So I think that that's gone really, really well. I think that we've tried to keep engaging through the summer. We felt that that was important, and we felt that that was important because of the debt that we owed to our fan base for sticking by us. We really wasn't a very good season, but even though it wasn't going well at the start, the gate still increased every match, pretty much, and the average gates went up and up and up on the back of a bad season. And we're thinking, wow, when we have a good one, what's it going to be like? Because we were picking up supporters throughout the season that become loyal supporters that, not just coming to games, but going in the shop and buying a shirt and buying a scarf and buying a bucket hat and buying all those other little bits and bobs, which all make a massive, massive difference to what we're trying to do. And I think what we did with our signings through the summer and how we teased them and how we set a pattern for when they were going to be announced. We had people looking forward to 4 o'clock on a Friday.
Yeah.
We had people finishing work early so they could be on their computers at 4 o'clock on a Friday. And then we quite enjoyed, looking at the supporters pages on social media and getting everyone whipping up into a frenzy for 4 o'clock on a Friday. We threw a couple in early on a couple of occasions to spin people's head, but other than that, we sort of tried to get a pattern that engaged and got everybody being part of what we were trying to do.
Yeah, yeah,
And
no, that was great.
I don't think there was many announcements that were disappointing for people. So, I think we did a pretty good job over the summer, and we'll continue to that engagement because it's really key for us.
Yeah, and obviously it was a joy as well to actually see one of those contract signings when you announced Musa at the Player of the Year awards. That was a real joy as well to see that. And I know great engagement, and like you say, I think everybody within the club's really excited for the coming season, and it just shows you, doesn't it? Because things couldn't be any different to 12 months ago with the takeover happening late, like we mentioned in our first interview. We only had a small window, didn't we, to sign the players. Where this year we got our business done really early, and to the surprise and awe of all of the clubs in the league. Tell us about that, Alan.
I think that we started pulling target lists together in January. An early new year, we started sort of looking at what we needed. Adam had a very set way in which he wants to play. Therefore, there's a very defined characteristic for each position that he's got, and there's a specification, a player spec for each position that we have within the club. So we knew when we were going shopping exactly what we were shopping for, and because we had more time, it enabled us to dedicate that time in the right way so that we didn't waste any money and that we went out and we got our key targets. And we wanted to do that early because it could be argued that you might pay a little bit more doing it early, but then you haven't got the stress of scrabbling around at the end. And we set our stall out quite early on, and I think we've made some really decent signings. And looking around what everyone else is doing, I think we've done good
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
I can't get my head around the odds that the bookies are putting out, and it must be based purely on the finishing positions last year, not not with the knowledge of what's going on in the summer. Because I mean, that's good for our fans, right? We're not allowed to bet when you work for a football club.
Yeah,
It's FA rules, but I know quite a few of the fans have come up to me and said, "Oh, I've had a right touch. I've got 20 or 18s." So there's quite a few fans that are quite happy with the odds that have been set. But we did business early and we got our top targets, and um, I don't think we missed anyone that we wanted. I don't think we went after anyone that we wanted um,
yeah,
with regards to new signings.
yeah. You talk about the bookies and them underestimating us, and I guess that can work in our favour this year because last season, obviously, you guys come in and for obvious reasons, there was a real buzz around the place and, full of optimism. And, I think at one point we were looking at the records of the league and seeing, what's the maximum amount of points, total and sort of having those in our sights. And that obviously made us a little bit of a target for all of the other clubs in the league. But if this year, if the other clubs want to underestimate us, I think that can play right into our hands, right?
You can and it can't it? I mean, it's football. It's a beautiful game. Anything can happen. Things can, look what happened last year. The amount of injuries we had was the only record we broke was the amount of injuries in one squad in any one time. And that come to us from the league. They said we've never known a club suffering like you're suffering injury wise. It's some major injuries. We had some big injuries. We had key players out for key games, and we didn't have any luck at all. And I think there was a bit of a fanfare made when the takeover happened, and you know I've been in the game a long time. Simon's been in business a long time. Things can always surprise you. You're always learning. And a lot of
Yeah,
lessons we learned last year. Um, I think the big thing for that was going full time. And that was a massive transition that was required, and we knew it was going to be difficult. We never thought we were going to go up. We knew we had to sort of steady the ship and then build. So although it might not have gone to plan for all the fans, it's about where we thought it would be.
yeah,
So it's not. We're not put off by what happened or what's going to happen. We have a defined plan and strategy about how we're going to move this forward, and we're pretty on track, to be fair.
yeah. Talking of new players over the summer, we got to look at a try list number 25. We can now mention him by name as an Eastbourne Borough player, Braden Johnson. Looks like another incredible find. How did we find out about him?
We've got a little network of people that I'm not going to say scouts, because a lot of the stuff that we were mocked for was talking about data and computers and this, that, and the other. A lot of the work we do is that way. We look at the stats, we look at the numbers, we look at this, that, and the other. But when you get to a certain level or down to a certain level, that data isn't collected. The games aren't filmed, and you have to have a network of people that lurk below the threshold of the data, if you like. And we have an individual that puts some very, very good players to us.
Yeah,
And I won't name him because I'm not sure whether or not he'd be happy for me to do that. But Braden come to us from the same route that Yaya come to us. So
really well. Yeah,
we have a really good relationship with somebody that knows step 4 down to step 7 really, really well. And there's been numerous players that we've looked at over the summer. Braden came through that route, and one other come through that route this summer. So we have people out at the lower levels, and we have an awful lot of data and video and conversations going on, and we have a lot of people out watching games all over the place.
yeah,
Because it's not, we were annihilated for talking about a social data approach. It's not just that. It just supports what people see and what people do. But then it validates the views and opinions of people, because numbers don't often lie. When you're talking about speed and we're told we're given the data on Yaya with regards to speed, the data is the data. He is quick, right? So, we knew that he was quick. So we have a look at him, and I've got to give credit to Neil Smith, the manager at Cray Wanderers there, because I've known Neil a long time, and we reached out to him, and they were in a position in the league at the time where they couldn't go up, they couldn't go down, they were pretty safe in the middle of the table. And I sort of said, can you do us a favour? We'd like to have a look at Yaya. And he said, mate, listen, he will get you safe. He will come in, he'll get you 7, 8 goals. He is rapid, he's direct, he goes at goal. I'm not going to stand in his way. If you can give him something full time, then by all means. The following morning, Yaya was at my office door. An hour later, he was training with the lads, and an hour later, he'd signed with us. And 24 hours later, he played and scored on his debut. And Braden come from the same route. Braden was playing Step 6 football last season with a club. I don't even know what they're called. North London, and we had a conversation with him. He came in, he did a couple of training sessions. We then, we liked him. We liked what we saw in him. We saw that there was a future. At the time, he was 17 years of age. He was going off to university. Our guy had to have a conversation with his mum about him putting that on hold for a year just to see how he could get on. And we sat down and had a conversation with him, and he's become part of what we're trying to achieve here. And he is a very gifted young man. He's got a lot to learn. He's very young. He's quite raw. It's his first time in full-time football. He's having a bit of a baptism of fire, somewhat, but attitude spot on. He's got the tools. He knows where it goes from here. But I know he's got a very good manager and coaching team that are going to get the absolute best out of him, and I think he'll be quite key to what we're trying to do this year.
Yeah. I mean, this is why we love football, isn't it? These stories, just unbelievable, finding these gems in the lower leagues. There's nothing like it. And I can't remember if it was you that told me or somebody else. Am I right in thinking that Yaya was a train driver and then he had to give it up to come and play football full time? Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think he had several shifts a week driving. It might be trams, but trains or trams. And we had to make sure we could pay him enough so we could give up train driving to come in. And he promised that, we probably ended up paying him a little bit more than we wanted to, but we did what we had to do so that he could give up his job and dedicate his time to us. And he promised he'd repay us. And ultimately there was a lot of parts that got us safe last year, but he was a pretty big part in doing that. His goals and the way in which he just lifted us, as well as everybody else. He was a key part of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we think about how we finished our season last year. Yaya Finn really stepped up as well and was tremendous, wasn't he, in the last few games of the season. So as well as bringing all of the new players in this season, it was also vital to secure the existing players that were so good for us last year. From you speaking to the players and then negotiating these contracts for them to stay on, how much desire was there for them to stay with us and to kick on this season?
I don't think we had to bend anyone's arm. Everyone wanted to stay, pretty much, that we wanted to stay. A few of the lads that did stay, we had some interesting conversations about, and we looked after everybody. Everyone got a little bit more money, and for what they'd done, and they'd progressed and they'd gone on a journey, and they all played a key part of that. So they all wanted to stay. The ones that wanted to stay, that we wanted to stay, stayed. There was no one that we really lost, that we would have kept, apart from probably H. We would have liked H to stay, but he made his decisions to move on, which was disappointing for us. But we support and understand his decision, and respectfully stepped aside and let him go to another team. So other than him, I think everyone that we wanted to stay stayed. So it's good. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah. An area of the game that fans don't really know a lot about is the area of try lists. It's a funny old thing, isn't it? They come in and we get to, like Braden and like a few of the other guys, you really get become fond of one of these players and you know them as try list F or try list C. How does a process kind of work from your side, Alan? How do you kind of identify these players? How do you get them in, and what does it look like for them once they're sort of within the club for those couple of weeks or however it works out?
I think that for us it was we only brought people on trial that could play in positions that we needed to fill. Um, we wouldn't bring someone in a position that played in a position that we didn't need, um, or that we were full. Most of our positions have two, maybe three people that could play in that position. So we'd only bring in people that could do a job that we needed to be done. But then we had to make sure that we either knew them, we knew enough about them, we could get enough footage. Adam would always want to see footage of the players and not a mixed tape of their best bits. He'd want to see whole game footage of each of these individuals so that he could see the stuff that they didn't want you to see as well. And if we didn't have that footage, then it would have to be from a trusted source. Braden come to us from the guy that gave us Yaya, and when the guy that gives us Yaya says, "Look, I've got this lad, you should look at him. He's got something." Then we listened to that, and we couldn't get footage or anything on Braden. He was playing too far down,
Yeah.
and he said, "Look, trust me, I'm not going to let you down. You need to have a look at him." And he come in and first session, and it was a favour more than anything, really. He said, "Look, I've got this young lad. Do us a favour. Can you let him come in for a few days just to see what it's like to play full time?" And we were like, "Okay, fine." If he said he's got a chance, Adam said, "Fine, let's have a look." And he come in, and first session, it was, wow,
Yeah.
he's got something. So we won't just let anyone come in. All our lads, we pay private medical on everybody. They're all insured. You can't bring someone into the mix that could injure someone, that isn't up to a standard, that couldn't understand the drills that they were being asked to do, that couldn't play at the level, that wouldn't mess things up because they just couldn't do that stuff. So they needed to be a level of technical ability. The player specification that Adam had for set position, for example, and there has to be a role for them if they were good enough. And who did we bring in on trial? We brought in on trial this year Braden. We brought in Carson on trial, both of whom got contracts out of that. And there's a couple of young lads that are still with us at the moment that come through from our 18s that have had brilliant pre-seasons, and are still in and around the place. Quite a few have dropped off, and of course the other one that come with us for a whole pre-season was Steph Fukoji, who was with
Yeah.
us last year, and we helped him back through his rehab, and part of that was we said, "Come in and have a pre-season. Let's see where you are." And he has worked unbelievably all pre-season to the point where, yesterday I had to sit down in a conversation with Adam, and Adam says, "Look, let's give him something. He can do something for us. He's got something that we might need." And Steph does. There's a certain thing about him that he's got something that we don't get from anyone else. So, when we're in a situation this season, when there's been some rule changes, which I know we're going to talk about in a little while, it was important to bring in that little bit of ingredient that could do something different. And, we're very, very pleased that he's got himself to a level where, the manager has said, "Let's keep him around." And I know that Steph is absolutely over the moon with the
Yeah,
fact
of
that
course.
he's grateful for what we did for him, and we're very, very grateful that he has dedicated himself to getting back fit as hard as he has, because it's a horrible job when you can't play.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
he's done well.
In case anyone's listening who doesn't actually know about that, this is a player that's come in, signed last season, and then was it the first game of the season or second game of the season? He done his ACL, wasn't it? Really early on.
Third or fourth, I think. I mean, he scored at
Yeah.
Farnborough. and then
Yes, he did. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
then he did it in a home game. I think it was against Chippenham or Western or someone, but devastated because he was on fire at the start of last season. We were so excited, and then he did his ACL and he missed the
yeah,
whole season. And he come back and but he worked so hard in getting back. You know, we paid for his op and his rehab and stuff, and then he come back in and he's earned himself a new deal. He's got to start from scratch again, and he's got to earn himself a deal that was as good as his last deal, but he's
yeah,
prepared to do that, and he's
yeah,
hungry. Um,
yeah,
and as important, he wants to be with us. He wants to be around the place. He knows there's no better place for him right now.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and there's no doubt he could have gone elsewhere, but he wants to be part of this. Um,
yeah,
and he wants to repay. He wants
yeah,
to pay back with interest,
yeah,
and I'm very proud of what he's achieved this summer and over the last year. Um, and he's a delightful, charming young man, and he deserves a crack at getting back to where he deserves to be.
yeah, 100%. Well, we'll definitely be cheering him on every step of the way. And yeah, we were delighted to see that news and released by the club, earlier on today. Another player that looks incredibly exciting is George Alexander. Already scored a hatful of goals in pre-season, and you, of course, know the family really well because you were instrumental in getting this deal done because of your relationship. You've obviously worked with his dad, Gary Alexander, before. Tell us about that, Alan.
Well, I mean, I signed Gary when I was at Crawley, and Gary come in and did a job for us there. Um, I then, when I moved on from Crawley, I went to Millwall. Gary was obviously a Millwall legend, having scored, as he tells it, the best ever goal Wembley's ever seen. And every Millwall fan will tell you exactly the same thing. And Gaz is a legend at the Den, absolute legend at the Den. So, when I then moved on from there, I used to see him a lot because he used to come up and he'd be in the lounge or he'd be a special guest, or, we'd put him in a box, or, he'd made some lifelong friends. One of the biggest sponsors at Millwall, Tom Pratt's a close friend of Gaz. So Gaz used to be at a lot of games with Tom, and Tom's been great for that family and supporting and sponsoring them through their journeys. Um, and it was one of them that we tried to get we tried to get George in January, to come in with a bit of firepower to try and get the goals we were lacking. But for whatever reason, and there were several, we couldn't make it happen. And I had numerous conversations with Gaz, but where he was right then at the time he was at Bromley, and I don't think he was having a particularly good year last year. I think he had 3 different clubs on loan last year, and it wasn't. In hindsight, it probably wouldn't have been a very good move for him to come to us where he was at the time. So I'd had one crack at it, and then we sat down at the end of the season and, right, top targets, please, Gaffer, and George was right up there, and it was a case of, I said, right, okay, well, I don't want my relationship with Dad to queer this. Let's do the usual route. So that the way in which we do it, as Adam will highlight his targets, he will do his homework. He will then speak to people he knows that know the player. He will then speak to the player and have a football conversation about what's going on, what he would want to do. Adam would never talk about contracts or money or finances. And then when he got to the point was, yeah, he'll do for me, I want him, then he hands to me, and then I have to deal with the agents and negotiate things with them, and sometimes, thankfully, just directly with the player. So we got to the point where he'd had a conversation with George. They got on really, really well. He decided that George was, one of his top targets in the summer to come in, and he would be, provide us with the firepower that we'd need, or some of the firepower that we'd need to achieve what we wanted to achieve. And then it was handed over to me, and I pick up the phone to Gaz and, hello, mate. And then it was him being his usual self. He wants more money than that. And he fought his son's corner for him admirably, as you would expect any father to do. But we got to a point where they were happy with the money that we were prepared to pay. And we got a deal done, and we got George in on a 2-year deal. And I think it's a really good bit of business for this football club. I really do, because
Yeah,
he's he's young, but he's got goals in him. His attitude's fantastic. He's gritty. He's got a little bit of that Millwall in him. He come through the academy there, and he will roll his sleeves up and get stuck in. As will Alfie, as will Jaden, as will Joe Wright. These are all lads that have former Lions. And they've come in, and the one thing you get with people that have been through an academy at that football club is a will to win and desire to come first. So it's instilled in them from a very early age of how important winning is, but also how important it is to represent your club and don't shirk away from anything. And I think Adam likes that in a player, someone that gets stuck in and not fouls people or anything like that. But there's an edge to all of those boys that we were probably missing before, I think.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think if there was any criticisms last season, I think sometimes we were too nice. And I think one of the good things when Matt Green came in and we started seeing him, I remember him on the pitch, but by as he was just sort of coaching Yaya Bamba, on the pitch and saying, you could have gone down there. That was a foul, and just coaching them on the game. And it's just having that little bit of experience. And I think they called it the dark arts, isn't it? And having players that know how to do that is really important, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that just experience is nothing beats it, does it? And it's it's different. I don't like the thought of having to cheat to win games, but it's not cheating. It's just playing within the laws of the game to get the result that you want. You're playing against enough people on a weekend. Sometimes you're playing against officials as well. Sometimes that doesn't go your way, and you've got to conduct yourself in the right way to get the best out of every situation. And it's all very admirable if someone clips you in the area and to try and keep your feet to put it in the back of the net. But if they've clipped you, it's a foul, so get the penalty. But let's not play for it. Let's not dive about. I don't want to get to that Jurgen Klinsmann type environment, but we're here to win football matches, and we do that within the realms of the law, and we do whatever we've got to do within the laws of the game to get a result and points.
Yeah. I don't want to upset you, but I know this isn't one of your favourite topics, but you did mention agents a few moments ago. As part of your job, obviously, you're having to deal with agents more and more within the game these days. What's been your experience over the summer? Is it becoming easier or is it becoming harder?
Do you know what? We've dealt with some of the best agents in the business this summer. It's been an absolute privilege dealing with Alfie Pavey's agent. I'm not going to name them, but Alfie's agent, dealing with Finn Weston's agent, people that Finn Ballard McBride's agent. There's been some really, really good, and all the agents we've actually ended up doing business with have been good guys. But there's been certain players, so I don't think we've done any business with an agent, or, bear in mind, we don't pay these guys. I don't like doing that. So the ones you tend doing business with are the ones that are doing it what's right for the lad, not what's right for them. So, all the agents we've worked with over the summer have been different class, and we go on and so there's been several players we've tried to talk to this summer whose agents have absolutely destroyed any chances of those young men ever having a career in football, because they're just absolutely clueless. And you're talking to people that just have no real understanding of reality. A number of conversations I've had with Adam where he said, talk to this guy for me. You talk to them and you put the phone, I go, $7,000 a week. Are you absolutely sure? For a kid that's never played anything outside an academy, never earned more than £300 a week, and he wants to come to a non-league South side and this, that, and the other. I had a guy. Well, what's the club accommodation like? We bought. We have a house that a lot of our lads live in a club house. In fact, we've got 2 club houses, and a lot of the lads live in there that we provide for it. One wanted a chef, a personal chef for his player, 17-year-old. He wanted a dietitian. He wanted all these things personal to the player, not club ones. And there's been all sorts of things. Chauffeur-driven cars to take them to and from training. And you're dealing with agents that haven't long left school themselves. And they're talking to you like you're clueless. So there's been a few deals that nearly didn't happen because of bad agents. There's been a few recontracts that nearly didn't happen because of bad agents that were greedy and not doing what was best for their players. We're fair. We're very fair with what we do. And we were abused by certain people, but we won every single one of those arguments, and we got every single one of those players to re-sign on the deal that we wanted them to re-sign on. And some of those players might no longer be with those agents because of the way they conducted themselves. Because I'll tell the lads what they're saying and what they're doing. And but saying that, as I say, we dealt with Finn Weston's agent, we dealt with Alfie Pavey's agent, we dealt with Carson, Braden, all those guys were brilliant, but there was been some real problems this summer. But none of them we didn't come out the other side and winning those arguments. So we're top of the table when it comes to agencies. I think yet again this year when the numbers come out, I think they come out February March time around agents' fees. I'm pretty confident we'll be the bottom of the table, and we would have paid less than any other club in the league in agents' fees this year. And it's been difficult, but we've managed to get through it.
Yeah. Anybody that came into contact with any of the players and the managers and anyone at the club last season would have come away saying what a great group of lads we have. And of course, with the comings and goings within football, fans see it as a player leaving, and for them it's a player. But obviously within the club, you're replacing someone's mate, aren't you? You've got this ecosystem within the club, a culture. And obviously when players leave, you've got to kind of rebuild that over the summer. What's your first impressions of the new guys? Are they settling in well? Do you think we're going to have a culture like we did last season? Is there another great group of lads that we've got within the club again this year?
I think it'd probably be better than last year. We had a few days away up in North Wales, and it was one of these a bonding trip. Couple of training sessions and some meals and some bonding things and conversations. And Simon did one of his talks to the lads, which are always truly inspirational, and got them fully focused on the mindset stuff that they need to be on. And I think we've been really, I'm not going to say we've been lucky again, because Adam was recruited on ability, technical ability, human being, and for want of a better phrase, we have a bit of a no dickheads policy. So, everyone had to get through Adam. They then had to get through me and sometimes Simon, to have conversations to make sure that they were just good eggs. And, I don't think there's not one that is not anything other than exemplary when you talk about manners, attitude, the way in which they talk to the staff around the club. Everybody's treated exactly the same way. Everyone's treated with respect. The lads will go out and buy the girls that work at the club a Coke from the tea bar or whatever. It's just, and that sounds a flippant comment, but it's really important that everyone's part of this one. It's not just footballers that make this team up. We've got the other staff at the club that are the key into making this thing roll. John as a general manager, Kim working ticket retail, and since we've had no chef, has also been the chef as well, and working 7 days a week. But the lads engage, and they understand that, and they respect that, and they're thankful and grateful, and they make sure people feel that. So in our skipper and Brad, we have someone that absolutely demands a level of respect from everybody, but he doesn't have to demand it because they've got it anyway. Everyone's manners and the way in which they behave is faultless, really. So we've got no handbrakes in there. Everyone's going to help this move quickly forward. No one's going to be slowing us down. And play at the speed of trust is something that Simon says, and move at the speed of trust. And if you think about that, if everyone's on the same thing, we move faster because everyone's trusting everybody. Everyone's on the same hymn sheet, and it enables us to achieve. So we've got that right, and I think that culture and that environment is elite.
Yeah. Brilliant, brilliant. Well, as well as adding to the staff on the playing staff on the pitch, and we've also added to the non-playing staff over the summer as well. Tell us about those additions, Alan.
I think Stuart's come back. I mean, Stuart never left, but Adam still has Stuart as his number two, and I think that was a key appointment for him. And Stuart was once Adam's manager, so Stuart's a little bit like the voice of reason on his shoulder that reassures or educates or talks or shares. We have Ori as the analyst. He was with us last year as well. We have Dave that's joined Ori, or as everyone calls him, Biscuit. Ori, Oreo, Biscuit. But so Biscuit's got an assistant now, which is Dave, who is an incredibly intelligent young man who is assisting with the analysis side of things. We've brought in Ethan Gabriel, who's just completed his master's in sports science at Brighton Uni. Again, without using all the same words, a very talented, gifted young man in the sports science field that is working on and making sure our lads are fit and ready and conditioned. I think that you like to think if we get injuries, it won't be muscle or anything silly like we had last year. It'll be impact or contact injuries as opposed to anything else. So Ethan's done a great job on that. And then we brought in Bruno, or as he likes everyone to call him, Belly, as our physio. And Bruno's very experienced on-field physio that's apparently got really good hands, whatever that means. But the lads all say the same thing. So we've added some real quality to our back staff, if you like, our management team, that all have their very defined particular roles in making sure that we're able to perform at our highest level. What Biscuit and Dave do in pulling the clips together and coding the clips so that Adam can explain what things aren't quite right or how he wants to change things, but then also doing the analysis on our opponents and doing the presentations for the lads and that on what they're expecting to come up against and how we're going to combat that. It's like a massive game of chess, really. So all those guys play their part in helping us deliver something that's hopefully going to be successful. So we've got a really comfortable team. We're really pleased with how that's come together as well. But again, that was handpicked very specifically for what exactly we needed character-wise. In a physio, we needed a strong, dominant physio that was going to take control of situations. We haven't had that. So that was really key for us. So we're pretty pleased with that as well.
And as fans of the club, these are things that we just shouldn't take for granted. I mean, I've spoken to some managers of other clubs in our division recently, and you hear about what their week looks like, and it's often the manager that's doing all of these things themselves, in they're working part time as well, and managing another job, and the fact that we are blessed with these, like you say, elite talents within the club, is just so foundational for where we want the club to go, isn't it, Alan?
It is, and it's difficult to start with when you're trying to build. But as you say, if you don't get the foundations right, the house will fall down. And if you build a house on jelly, it'll fall down. So you've got to go through that foundation phase first, and that is, we've had a complete reorganization of our youth academy, our women's section, our men's section. We've recruited a new women's manager, a new 18s manager, new female, a women's 18s manager. So we're putting in a structure that is a lot more robust with much better educated coaches at a higher level that enable to, we need to be delivering players on a pathway into our first team. There's been a bit of a void, and there is everywhere a void between 18s and first team football. We're not blessed with enough revenue or structure to have a 23s. So taking someone from 18 to first team is really hard without having that. We risk people having to go away to come back, and you don't want that. You want to maintain everybody. You want to keep everybody here so that
Yeah.
you have control over their destiny and the way in which they play. So we're trying to get all our academy and the youth section playing the same way that our first team, and trying to formulate a DNA that enables us to do that pathway properly. But that's a big piece of work, and it's very hard to deliver. So, we need to enhance, and we need to build on our back team, our administrative team and our coaching team in the academy and all that sort of stuff, so that we can keep up with what the first team are hopefully going to be doing.
Yeah. Another part of the club that's vital is the commercial side of the club, and we've done some great business. Like you've mentioned, over the summer, we brought in Stagecoach as a new back of the shirt sponsor, and there's lots of opportunities, isn't there, for local and of course national and international businesses to get involved and to join the journey. If there are any company owners watching right now, what would you want to say to them, Alan?
Have a chat with us, because it's all, we've done some great commercial business over the summer, and we've got more to be announced that's been done already. And maybe by the time this comes out we would have announced another one. But we've done some big deals. We've done, I think, the biggest deals that this league's got. And certainly having conversations with the league and the hierarchy at the league, I know we're doing good business. And what we've got for our shirts, what we've got for our lounges, we have a dugout sponsor this year that is at a level that this league hasn't seen before, but they're going to get a return on that investment. And we have our hospitality suite sponsored now. We have a very good IT partner. All these partnerships that have been formed over the summer are all going to get something out of it. They're partnerships, they're not sponsorships. So
Yeah.
we like to make sure that everyone we work with, make sure they get something out of it, and make sure they get a return on their investment, because otherwise it's a short-term partnership. So I think that if you're someone that wants exposure, you want eyeballs, you want people looking at what you're doing, we're a great brand to align with, because we do get a lot of eyeballs on what we do. We've been criticised early doors for our approach to social media, but it's helping us build the club
Yeah.
that will entertain and will satisfy our supporters, because it will enable us to generate the revenue, to get the players, to get up the league, to play a better standard, to have a nicer stadium, a grass pitch, all those things that the fans deeply want, but they want to moan about something on Instagram. But understand that something silly on Instagram is generated eyeballs that have then come forward and supported us and put funds into this football club to give them what they want to see. So,
Yeah.
that strategy will not change. It's very robust. It is working brilliantly. The content that's being created is getting us traction in areas where a lot of people don't understand, me being one of them to start off with, but it works for us, and it's going to enable us to get bigger and better. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And just to sort of re-emphasize that, we're not talking about, as a business owner, just giving the club some of your money and then writing it off, against your taxes at the end of the year. What you're talking about is a partnership where you're really looking at getting a return on that and some extra exposure that you wouldn't get. And it is a very exciting and a very good journey to be on. So what I'll make sure I do, Alan, if it's okay with you, I'll get the commercial email address, and I'll make sure that it's in the description below. So if you are a company owner or a company director, make sure that you reach out to the commercial team and have a discussion around what commercial opportunities there are at
Yeah,
the club.
or contact me directly. Um,
Yeah.
if you want to hear it from the people who have the plan, then myself and Simon will sit down or jump on a call with anybody and talk them through, where we are, where we're going, and where we'll end up, and how they can play part in that, and then how we can help their business generate what they need to generate out of the relationship. So we're not interested in taking sponsorship money and then we'll talk again in 2 years' time. The sponsors and partners we have now will tell you that we are constantly working alongside them to help their businesses grow.
Yeah.
And I'll say that
Yeah.
to you, David. We've worked with you from the start, and I think we've helped open doors and generate revenue and business for you and for your, from the club. Now working with some massive brands. I remember sitting down in the bar at Eastbourne Borough and you saying, "I've got this idea for a business. What do you think?" and we sat down, myself, you, and Jack, and we talked through. And there wasn't much needed from me, but I think I just validated the thoughts that you had and the fact that it's a great business and it'll work. And
Yeah.
I'm pleased about that because there's two really cool people that are getting something really good going off the back of a relationship that was built through you coming along um, to watch us play football.
Yeah.
So,
No,
and
100%.
there's numerous from the clubs that are coming out of the relationships they have with us. And we take great pride in that, and we're really, really pleased, and we're proud of what you guys have achieved, which is why I don't mind jumping on here and talking rubbish for an hour for you.
Certainly not rubbish. And I know you're not one to say I told you so, but there was a lot of people that just didn't get the whole social media thing at the start. And I think I remember seeing a stat recently in terms of our Instagram following, which obviously a lot of that was driven through the Pierce Bird goal that you discussed earlier. Our social media following now is one of the highest outside of the championship, isn't it?
It is, and it's global.
Yeah,
And it's not just the number of followers, it's the engagement we're getting from those followers. And as I'm told, it's not about the followers, it's about the engagement you get and the click-through rates and all these things. And we have Zach that works on that, and who is very, very clever young man. And he has a formula and a strategy to get those engagements up. And he has a massive bank of really good engaging content, and it's all original engaging content. um, all the lads are involved, they've all bought into it. It doesn't affect their training, it doesn't take away anything from what they're doing. They all volunteer to hang around after training and do a bit of social stuff and do a little competition or do a little bit of fun stuff for us to put on the channel, which everybody loves watching. We have got some really good engagement and some big followers, and then we're generating some good connections out of it as well. And we have inbound inquiry on partnerships as opposed to us having to kick doors down and
yeah,
try and force
yeah,
people to come and work with us. So,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
really
Great.
part of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah. As well as commercially, where people can get involved. Obviously, it's really key that the fans, all of us, get behind the team as well, and that can involve just getting to the games early, can't it? And making sure that we buy something to eat or buy something in the club shop. These are all things that actually make a really tangible difference, don't they, Ellen?
More than people really understand, more than they realize. We're really, and bear in mind, you don't want an environment or a situation with a football club where you're absolutely dependent on just a chairman or a investor in pumping money in every month to make it work. We have to get to the point where we endeavour to be self-sufficient and actually start making money. Very few clubs have done that. We were self-sufficient when I was at Crawley. We generated revenue when I was at Crawley. Helped a lot by cup runs, but that was because we built a good team. But we need to make sure that there's less of that the club becomes a smaller burden as possible to its investors and its shareholders, so that we can keep going. Coming along to a game, buying a drink, buying a burger, buying a bar of chocolate, popping in the shop and buying a hat or a scarf or a shirt. We've seen more and more people on the terraces wearing our colours this year, which is why we decided to keep the kit the same. We didn't change our home kit this year because it's great the amount of people that have supported us and bought a home kit. A lot of them bought them late on in the season. So we kept the same kit for the coming season. So it's nice to see that amount of shirts. We're selling shirts every day. So that's gone down well. And then we've launched our new pink kit, which will be with us in under a week, maybe. So everyone will be able to jump on that as well because that's gone down quite well. And it's important. Please don't turn up at 5 to 3 and walk through the turnstile. Come down a little bit early. Make it more of a social event. Come down, have a drink. Doesn't have to be alcoholic. Pop in the shop, buy a burger. It all helps. And just because you have a successful businessman as your owner, it doesn't mean we should just expect him to keep paying without everybody doing their bit. It's an entertainment industry. We'll endeavour to entertain you. If you feel entertained, then reward the club by supporting it in any way you can. Some people can't. That's fine. Doesn't matter. But if you can and you think, yeah, that was a great day, I'll go and have a pint. That makes a difference, and that's appreciated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
each to their own, but it's important for us if people can do that.
Well, just for the record, in case anyone is making notes, I do my bit. I have 2 Borough burgers most match days.
And cheesy chips.
In cheese and chips. Alan, obviously, commercially, we've spoken about the plans and the journey that we're on. Simon's openly spoken about his plans to develop the stadium. What can you tell us about that at the moment?
That's moving at pace now. We've got a really good architect firm that we're working with. The plans keep changing because we keep wanting to add more to it, and we wanted to do more. And we're thinking, if this is going to be as big as we want it to be, and it's going to last a long time, we don't want to have to redevelop it. We don't want to have to change it. So we keep tweaking it a little bit and adding this and adding that and adding the other. We know that we'll have a new pitch next year. We will have a grass pitch next year. We've got one more season out of this pitch, and then really we need to do something with it. So the intention is to put down a grass pitch for next year with a proper irrigation system in it. And then it's about developing the stadium, and that'll be done in phases. We are in conversation with planning and everybody about what we're doing. There is some existing planning that's been approved already on a redevelopment of a stadium, which we're just having conversations about whether we can amend that or adjust that, or whether we've got to do something completely new. But the plans are looking quite. I think it's going to be one hell of a destination once we get it sorted, and it's not far away. It's not one of them. We're not going to do a Southend and talk for the next 20 years about a new stadium that's coming and this, that, and the other. We will very soon be able to share some really exciting news and pictures about what this is going to look like. But we've got to do it the right way. We've got to go through the right processes. We've got to engage with the right people and have the right conversations around not just the development of the stadium, but the travel plan that we've got to work on to enable people to get to and from us safely without damaging the environment or the lives of the people that surround us and that are our neighbours. So there's a lot more to developing a stadium than just building a new stadium. We have a lot of things to take into consideration. Power, for one. Everyone knows it's a horrible situation at the club, power-wise. But there's no point in addressing that until we know exactly how much more we need, when we know exactly what we're going to put in, and exactly what that's going to look like. But we're very close to being able to share all that. And we're quite excited about doing that. Just don't know how long it'll be now. Not long.
And I want to be respectful of your time. You've already worked really hard all day, and it's coming up to 9:30 at night. You're so kind with your time. We're going to take a really quick break before coming back to ask you some more general questions about the National League in the coming season. Ellen, last week we heard about the Zone taking over the TV rights for the National League. What's sort of the inside feeling about that? Is that good news or bad news for the club, and what can we expect to see as fans?
Time will tell. I think it could be. I think in the long term it could be a good deal. I think in the long term, if we get promoted, when we get promoted, it'll be a much better deal for the club. But moving away from TNTs hurts us, because part of that deal was we got free TNT in the clubhouse, or BT Sport that was. For commercial premises, that's a lot of money. So I think the DAZN deal would be financially worse off, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
So, there's a big hoo-ha about that, but I don't think that's a particularly good deal for us unless we start getting lots of televised games, or the games that we are televised. A lot of our fans log on and pay subscriptions for, because you get a percentage of that. but I don't think we'll have enough people doing that for it to replace the revenue that we've lost by having to pay for TNT in the bar. And we do that because a lot of people come in and watch the games throughout the week. So initial opinion on the DAZN deal is it's a waste of time because I don't
Yeah.
think we generate enough revenue from it to replace the revenue we've lost. So I think the DAZN deal will cost us money unless we get a lot of televised games, which you get a fee for. And when we do get that fee, a lot of people log on and pay a subscription to watch it.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't think we can get enough televised games to replace the revenue that's being lost from us having to pay for TNT Sport. So, you know, we've probably generated more commercial revenue this summer than the league has in the deals that they've done, I would imagine. So, they need to do more. They need to create more. They need to support us better. They need to support all the clubs in this league. The central funding that we get is a pittance compared to what you would get in
Yeah.
league, for example. And that's not just because it's a football league. I think that our commercial activity in the National League can be a lot stronger. They've brought in a new guy now, and time will tell, as he says, judge me on my results, and we will, because it's expensive to run a football club and travel to Truro. You talk about a travel down to Truro. We've got to go to Weymouth on a bank holiday weekend. It's an overnight stay for us. We're
Yeah.
looking at 3.5 grand for the hotel. We're looking at 2.5 grand for the coach, and that's before
Yeah.
we've paid
Yeah.
anybody.
Yeah.
So it's expensive to do this, and that's expensive for everyone, whether the club's got a little bit of money or whether you haven't got any money. So all clubs should be supported by the league through their central commercial deals that they do. And historically, they've not been very good. We have they have a deal with New Balance. We start Saturday. Our kit that we've got to wear on the bench arrives today. It's no good to us, especially when they send us
Mm.
mediums and larges. When all our
Yeah.
staff are large, are extra large and extra large. So they send us a load of kit we have to wear as part of a centralised deal. Yet none of our staff can get in it because they've only sent us kid sizes.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of criticism that can be levelled at the league, but it's not an easy job. It's difficult. They have a difficult job, but we're having to up our game to survive. The league needs to up their game to survive as well.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, every new season comes with new rule changes. There's been all sorts of rumours. We enjoyed referee so much last season. I've heard a rumour that we're going to get an extra one next season. There's going to be a fourth official. Is that true?
Yep. As of Saturday, we'll have a fourth official, and I'm just trying to work out whether any of this is embargoed. I don't think it is. If it is, find me. Fourth officials, and they have com kits as well. So the ref will be mic'd up to the fourths and to the linos, which in theory is good for us. It's good for everybody that they can communicate and talk, because maybe some egos will be kept in check or decisions will be nipped in the bud before they're made. Decisions can be improved or corrected because the fact that they can all talk to each other. So that is a new, we have a fourth official this year and they have communications kits. So, they are coming into place. What else have we got? Communications with referees. Only the captain can talk to the ref on the field of
Yeah.
play. Anyone else does it, it's a yellow card. If a ball goes out of play, only the fourth official can throw it onto the pitch from the side. If anyone from either bench throws it on, that's a booking. We can have 5 subs from 5 subs now.
Yeah.
So the National League voted for 5 from 7. South and North voted for 5 from 5. They didn't want 7 on the bench. Because smaller clubs with less revenue would have to get a bigger squad in theory. So it was voted against. So we can use 5 from 5 this year, at any time. so no time windows. I think that's about it.
Yeah,
Lots of other little referee ones, but the lads are being educated on them and have been prior to the season starting. But I envisage a lot of yellow cards for the first
yeah, yeah,
month, 2 months of the season, while everybody gets used to the changes, because the fact that only a captain can speak to a referee is going to be carnage.
yeah,
Um, and the comms kits is going to cause some controversy, because I don't think any of these people at this level are used to using them, so they're never going to know how it goes. And the league have sent them to us to look after. So we've got to issue them to the officials before the game. And then we have to make sure they're charged up and cleaned and sanitized and all that usual stuff. I'm saying, but we haven't been told about sanitization or cleaning. We've just been sent a rucksack with some comms kits in, but we're putting our own processes in place to make sure everyone's safe and doesn't pick up anything they shouldn't by sticking something in their ear that's been in someone else's ear without it ever being
yeah.
cleaned.
Well, if
Bonkers.
there's any referees listening, just see how much we're taking care of you guys, and just make sure that you bear that in mind as you officiate our games next season.
Look, I tell you, going to the referees' room at Eastbourne Borough, there's towels supplied by us, shower gel supplied by us, little bowl of sweets supplied by us, a nice little bit of paper telling how much we respect them and know what hard job they've got. We do everything we can to support and look after what is a very, very difficult job. And all we ask is not perfection, because you won't get that at this level or any level. All we ask for is consistency. So if you blow against us for that, blow against them for that. If you penalise us for that, penalise them for that. And the same goes the
Yeah,
other way. Um, we don't mind bad. We just want consistent. And where people get frustrated with regards to officials is inconsistency. And the one thing you can say about them last year was they were consistently inconsistent.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah,
frustrating when if you think you've got a manager that spends all week formulating a plan and a strategy and a way to win a game, and then that's taken away with you by a stupid, inconsistent decision from a match official that an assessor sitting next to you in the director's box will say, "Don't know why he's done that. That's bang wrong." And we'll do something about it. Nothing I can do about it. It's happened now. We had a referee turn to us, a referee's assessor turned to us at a game last year and say, he turned to me and he went, "He's done you there," about one of his referees. And you're like, and then what can you say? Because you can't
yeah,
appeal, you can't fight, you can write a report. It's got to be 20 pages long, and it's got to have detailed second by second analysis of what went on and what was said. It's impossible to do that. And the second you put that appeal or work in, the target lands on your back. So
yeah.
we just have to have faith that they'll get better and do what we can to help that and not react the way some people react. But it's frustrating when you put so much effort in.
But we'll find out in a couple of days' time exactly how that all sort of plays out when we start our first game. Alan, when you consider the teams that came down and the teams that got promoted last season, and of course we're playing one of them on Saturday, who do you expect to be our biggest rivals this season?
Listen, this is a game of opinions, right? And this isn't what Adam or anyone else might say, but the ones that worry me more are the ones that come up. I think Chesham, I think Hornchurch, I think Salisbury. Salisbury not as much as Hornchurch and Chesham, but you look at those guys, they're well drilled, big, strong men. That I mean, Chesham won that league. They romped that league, and they're a well drilled, well organised. They will sit 11 behind the ball, and they will wait for mistakes or a set piece or a corner, or they will
Mm.
come up in lumps. Um, I'm not concerned about anything else. I'm not concerned about any of the teams that come down. Um, every game's going to be difficult, but I said a long time ago, just in a conversation with my son, with Kyle, I said, Hornchurch worry me. I think they'll be the one, but I've probably got that bang wrong. They'll end up rank bottom, and everyone will laugh. But I've always been one, David. worry about what we're doing. Don't worry about what everyone else is doing. Because I genuinely believe if we do everything to the best of our ability, it won't really matter what everyone else is doing because we'll come out on top. So, you know, there'll be harder games, there'll be easier games, I'm sure. There won't be any really easy games because you look at that whole league, there's some really good teams in there. I think it'll be harder this year coming than it was last season. So for us to get out of it's going to be even harder than it would have been last year. But there'll be no easy games. There'll be a lot of hard games. But I think if we do what we can do, then we'll be all right.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Alan, it's been a joy to spend some time with you. Thanks again for your time, mate. Before we let you go, let us know any closing thoughts, and also tell us how everyone can follow you on social media.
Closing thoughts. We'd done this last year. We'd have said we're going to have a good season. We'll be there. You know, we'll do our best. We're going to win some games. You know, I genuinely feel that we're in a good place. The players feel they're in a good place. The management team feel they're in a good place. They're ready now. I had conversations today. Conversation with the manager, the assistant manager, the physio, the captain, the vice captain, and the kit man. And pretty much to the word, they said, "We're ready now. We just want to start." You know, it's been a good pre-season, but we're ready. Let's do this, and you know, let's do it. You know, I think that, you know, social media, you know, to follow us, Eastbourne Borough, EBFC_official on Instagram, and I think it's the same Facebook. So, you know, anyone that's watching this will follow us anyway, mate. It's going to be no one from the outside world looking at this, is there? It's just going to be our supporters watching inside track on what's going on. But
But you never know. You never know.
what I will say is, whether you're positive, negative, for us or against us, just keep involved. If you've got something to say, don't hide behind your keyboard and say it. Come down and talk to us, because you'll be surprised with the reaction that you get. You want to come and talk to me, you want to come and talk to Simon, that door's always open. You know, don't hide behind your computer and start whinging and moaning. Come down, sit down, have a drink, get it off your chest. You might just be surprised with the answers and the reaction that you get from us, because everyone has a right to say their piece. Just keep it nice, keep it safe, and don't make it personal, because this isn't personal. This is a group of people trying to run a football club and trying to do something good for this town. And there's no one that wants to do it any other way. We'll make mistakes, we'll do things right, we'll do things wrong, but ultimately we're always trying to do it right. So if you want to get something off your chest, come and get it off your chest. Don't hide behind a keyboard and start insulting people, because it's started to slip into the Facebook pages. Toxicity is slipping in. It's getting nastier and nastier. And there's no place for it. There is no place for it. So please keep it clean. Remember that everyone looking at that, there's rules on social media, 13 plus. A lot of our supporters are a lot younger than that, but they're on social media and they're looking and reading that stuff. And there's been comments made about people on there that if their children are reading it, it'd be really upsetting. So let's keep it clean and let's see how we get on.
There's an extra reason to do so now, because Keir Starmer's recently put a law in place. We can go to prison for saying horrible things on the internet now, Alan. So make sure that you are nice. Make sure that you get behind the boys. If you're watching this interview on Friday or even on Saturday morning, come and support the boys. 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. We're going to be getting our season underway. Come and cheer them on. Let's start as we finished the season last year and really get behind the team. And Alan, I'll make sure that your social media platforms are in the link below. Go and make sure you give them a follow as well. Alan, thanks so much for your time, mate. I really appreciate it.
As always, David, thank you, mate.